The sun scorched the earth at a merciless 98 degrees, my sandals practically fusing with the sizzling pavement. I trudged to my backyard, towels slung over my shoulder, a cherry popsicle dripping down my wrist, only to stop dead in my tracks. My Pulmy oasis was sealed shut with a heavy padlock, like it was some kind of national treasure under guard. An orange notice, zip-tied to the gate, flapped mockingly in the dry breeze, proclaiming my pool violat HOA regulations. Cease use immediately or face daily fines, it warned. I stood there, sweat beading on my neck, popsicle melting into a sticky puddle, feeling like a stranger on my own land. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about a pool. This was war. 12 years ago, I built that pool with my own hands, a jackhammer, and a stubborn will. Back then, this neighborhood was nothing but dust, cacti, and the occasional coyote. I dug the hole over 2 blistering weeks, cursing every rock, poured the concrete, laid the tiles, and wired the lights myself. The sub-BVY sound sprouted up later, and with it came the Homeowners Association, a self-righteous bureaucracy I'd ignored. Their newsletters and glossy flyers went straight to the trash. None of their rules applied to me. I was here first. But Laura Hensley, the HOA's newly minted president, had other plans. I didn't know Laura until that evening when I stormed into the HOA meeting, still sunburned and seething. The community center was packed, the air thick with tension. Laura presided over the room like a monarch, her sharp voice cutting through the hum of the AC. She wore a lavender blazer despite the heat, her blonde hair pinned back, and clicked through PowerPoint slides with the confidence of a dictator. When I raised my hand to demand why my pool was locked like a crime scene, she fixed me with a stare that could freeze lava. Pointing to a slide titled, Water Feature Compliance, she rattled off a regulation number longer than a bank pin. My pool, she claimed, lacked modern filtration and runoff systems, making it non-compliant. I stood, voice steady but boiling inside, and told her my pool predated the HOA by 6 years, built in 2012, before their precious bylaws existed. She blinked, unfazed, and flashed a smile that screamed control. We all play by the same rules now, don't we? She said, her tone dripping with condescension. The room shifted uncomfortably, but no one dared challenge her. She banged her gavel, dismissing me, and moved on to mailbox height rules. I left, vowing to fight. That night, I sat by my chain pool, the padlock glinting under the stars, and cracked open a beer. This was my land, me sweat, my blood, my blueprints. I'd be damned if some clipboard-wielding tyrant could steal it. The next morning, I called the HOA office. No answer. I emailed. Silence. By afternoon, I drove to their trailer office near the golf course, a sad setup squeezed between a dog park and a yoga lawn. Laura wasn't there, but her jittery assistant, a college kid named Tim, handed me a compliance citation and a bottled water, like that would cool my rage. I demanded the original bylaws. He gave me a binder, and I sat in a sticky plastic chair, flipping through legal jargon. Then I found it, a footnote about legacy rights exemptions for homes built before the HOA. It was vague but gold. I snapped a photo and went home to dig through my files. There they were: permits from 2012, contractor receipts, photos of my cousins laying patio bricks, even the first electric bill from when the pool's filter spiked my costs. All of it predated the HOA. But Laura didn't care about facts. She craved power. My neighbor Clara, who lived here since '95, told me Laura forced her to rip out her daisies for not being on the approved flora list. Another neighbor got fined for wind chimes. This wasn't about rules, it was about erasing our rights to what we built. I decided to play smart, not loud. I'd outmaneuver Laura with EVY Denke, not tantrums. I listed what I needed: land deeds, permits, bylaws, maybe a lawyer. I wasn't going to be the guy raging at a meeting. I'd be the one with a folder of truth, watching Laura's smug grin crumble. Days later, a new letter appeared in my mailbox, accusing me of excessive aquatic celebrations. At 10:43 p.m. the pre-VYS night complete with splashing and loud music. I laughed. I'd been asleep by 9:30, lulled by a nature documentary. The only splashing was my cat knocking over his water bowl. I filed the letter in a new folder labeled Laura's Lies. Then came the drone. While weeding near the pool, I spotted a black, buzzing machine with an HOA logo, hovering over my yard like a spy. It lingered, then zipped away. Laura had escalated to surveillance. I drove to an electronics store, bought a motion-detecting camera system, and set it up to ping my phone if anything flew over my yard. I emailed my lawyer, Mike, with the drone footage. His reply was curt. "This is good. Keep documenting." Soon, a certified letter arrived, announcing a formal inspection of my pool for public safety and neighborhood harmony. I chuckled at the yoga brochure phrasing but welcomed it. Let them come. Let them try to enforce rules on a pool built before their HOA was born. The inspector, a polite guy named Greg, showed up in khakis, clipboard in hand. I offered lemonade, opened the gate, and answered his questions calmly, professional, cooperative. He took photos, asked about my filter, and left, promising a report by Monday. I felt the tide turning. That weekend, my neighbor Sam flagged me down while I trimmed hedges. He'd heard a rumor from the last HOA meeting, a closed-door session Laura held with her loyalists. One member, Sam's buddy, recorded it. In the audio, Laura's voice was cold. If I didn't comply, she'd drain my pool and call the health department. My blood boiled. This wasn't about regulations, it was personal. I sent the recording to Mike. His response was immediate. "This changes everything." He prepared a cease and desist, warning that further HOA actions would trigger a harassment claim. I stayed calm, sipping coffee by my pool, watching a sparrow perch on the fence. Patience was my weapon. At the next open HOA meeting, I walked in with my folder, head high. Laura ignored me, plowing through paint approvals and pet complaints. When she reached pool violations, I raised my hand. Called to the front, I laid out my case like a prosecutor. I showed permits, blueprints, tax records, and 2012 photos of family barbecues by the pool. I highlighted the legacy exemption in the bylaws. Then I played Laura's recording, her threat to drain my pool echoing in the silent room. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I handed out a county clerk's letter confirming my pool's exemption from HOA rules. Laura tried to interrupt, her voice shrill, but I pressed on, calm as steel. I warned that further fines or surveillance would mean legal action. The room was mine. Laura mumbled about verifying documents, but her allies looked away. Neighbors patted my back as I left. This wasn't just my fight anymore. Days later, the padlock vanished from my gate. No apology, just silence, a deafening admission of defeat. But I wanted more than silence. I wanted it in writing, etched in stone so no future HOA could try this again. I called the county clerk for a certified survey of my land. The map arrived that day, showing my entire property, house and pool outside the HOA's jurisdiction. I sent Laura a letter demanding written acknowledgement of their overreach and an update to their records exempting my property. I gave them 10 days. If they ignored me, Mike would file a county complaint. A white SUV with an HOA logo pulled up days later. An auditor, Paul, stepped out to verify my exemption. I handed him my documents, brewed coffee, and let him measure my land. He spent an hour walking the perimeter, then shook my hand. "Cleanest exemption I've ever seen," he said. Word spread fast. Neighbors like Ellen, fined for a bird bath and lawn gnomes, came to me with deeds. Her property, too, sat just outside HOA bounds. We filed a public records request, and she got her proof. Then came Max, fined for a faded doormat. His deed showed his lot was exempt. The dominoes fell. The next HOA meeting was chaos, standing room only. Ellen stood, reading parcel numbers and showing maps. Max listed his fines, each one baseless. I recapped my saga, the drone, the recording, the inspector's report. I held up Laura's handwritten note, a weak attempt at regret, and passed out my cease and desist. The room erupted. A board member, Tom, questioned why Laura hadn't caught this sooner. She stammered about clerical errors, but no one bought it. A vote was called to suspend Laura's authority pending a third-party review. It passed 5-2. Laura sat, lips tight, powerless. She left without her usual gavel bang. A week later, a for sale sign appeared on Laura's lawn. Her car vanished days after. The neighborhood exhaled. The county launched an audit, uncovering dozens of unlawful fines. Refunds were ordered, elections planned, and the HOA's procedures overhauled. My pool, once a battleground, became a gathering spot. Neighbors brought chairs, burgers, and stories. Kids splashed, music played, and Ellen toasted to standing firm. Max handed out a pamphlet. Know your lot line. Half joke, half guide. As the sun set, I dipped my feet in the water, watching light dance on the surface. This wasn't just about a pool. It was about home, dignity, and the quiet strength to fight for what's yours. Laura thought she could rule us. She didn't know I'd built the ground I stood on. And I wasn't going anywhere.